So is anybody else as disturbed as I am that we've got Senator John Fetterman, a Democrat, supposedly a big Democrat that we've all liked and admired and supported, and he's going to be supporting Pete Hegseth for Secretary of Defense? He knows it's dangerous. He hasn't given any good reason for why he wants to do this. And we're just like left hanging here going, what the actual F, you know? And now we find out that Sheldon Whitehouse, this big Democrat in the Senate, this powerhouse, this person we've admired and looked up to always do the right thing, he may vote to confirm RFK Jr. as Trump's Secretary of Health and Human Services because they're old friends and, they went to college together and I think they were college roommates. Folks, there has to be a better reason than this. This is like hair on fire time for this country. We cannot afford to have supposedly people who are supposedly on our side go off the rails like this. Are we finding out things about them that we just didn't know before? But something is terribly, terribly wrong here. Terribly wrong. We can't afford to lose any Democrats. Full stop. It is not okay. We lack the resolve in this country, it appears. People who head our institutions, our media, some in the Senate, they lack the resolve and the will and the backbone and maybe the ethical fortitude of their own to do the most basic right thing. Just the most basic thing that they can do. That may not save us, but it'll certainly help. And when they don't do the right thing, it's going to stop our progress in terms of trying to keep this country's head above water during this era of Trump. Shame on them both. Shame on them both. I don't have any words for this. But we do have brave souls from around the world in other areas. Of course, our Bishop Boudet earlier this week with the cameras on her the day after inauguration, taking Trump on and his evil. Right there, she's a hero. The Pope has gone on the record about Trump's inhumanity and cruelty. The Pope. So now I guess all these evangelical MAGA fake Christians will now hate Catholics again and hate the Pope. And then you'll have Catholics that'll hate the Pope. Again, Trump has like his own new religion. And they don't even care. These people are so far gone. It's unfortunate that many of their clergy let it go on this far, let it go on this long. Now, some of them were all in MAGA types preaching from the altar when they weren't supposed to. And there should be a separation of church and state, of course. And, but as spiritual leaders, they need to do the right thing. And they haven't. And you can't just say this is about the issue of abortion. We know that's BS. We know this. You know, they could be promoting safe, affordable, accessible birth control. That's something that clergy could do. They could really be pushing the morning after pill, and they could go a long way to make sure that MAGA stops trying to conflate the morning after pill with the abortion pill. And they do. They did that in an RNC convention, and one of the speakers. They purposely do that. And they know that the two are completely different. But they also know that the electorate is pretty dumb about those things. And the truth is, nobody really pushed that for a long time. Abortion is big business, and the Republicans needed the evangelicals as part of their coalition. And if they were able to get rid of abortion, then they lose them as coalition. It's part of their coalition because evangelicals basically didn't even vote before. So there's some blame to spread around both sides. But our clergy could have been there to step up and clarify things. And you'd think that we'd have Democratic senators that would do the right thing. I'm in shock that this is where we are. But I still have hope. So the Pope speaks up. Bishop Bude, is that her name? Bude. I've been mispronouncing it all week. She spoke up. You've got foreign media accurately reporting what Trump is doing when our own media won't. We've got foreign media all around the world, including Germany and especially Germany, taking on Elon Musk for giving the Nazi signal with his arm. Nobody else around the world, particularly in Germany, I mean, they don't even allow it. They have to blur it out. They don't do pictures of this. But around the world, they know what Elon Musk is, and they know what Trump is. And they know that was the Nazi salute. Only in America do they pretend to give him the benefit of the doubt. And then you've got these idiots. Well, MAGA, of course, is just out and out denying that that's what he did. I'm thinking that's an interesting hill to die on. I would like to see clergy around the country, evangelical churches, take that on. But they won't. Because most of them aren't real Christians anyway. But if they were true men and women of God, they would stand up on the altar this Sunday and make it clear that we don't give people the benefit of the doubt when we know what they're really doing when it comes to giving the Nazi salute. To pretend that it was anything other than purposeful and intentional is an insult. And if you believe what the clergy teach, what the church teaches, probably a sin. You think? Yeah. So this is what we do in this country. In other countries, they know good and darn well what Elon Musk was doing, and they aren't pretending that he isn't. We have gotten in this habit of pretending only to sort of shout people down about it. If we can just beat us up more on social media, the MAGA idiots who claim that that's not what Elon Musk was doing when he clearly was, and he has endorsed neo-Nazi groups. His grandparents were Nazis. He has a long history of this. He's pro-apartheid. I mean, there's no question. There is no question about this. I mean, people almost think, well, you have to take a blood test of some sort to prove it. We know that Elon Musk is a Nazi or a Nazi sympathizer, as if it matters that there's any sort of distinction. Just like we knew what those tiki torch carrying white nationalists were doing in Charlottesville. Remember? And Trump said there's good people on both sides and then insisted that that's not what he was talking about. We all heard him. We heard the context. Don't tell us that we didn't see and hear with our own eyes. Just like on January 6th, we saw the attack on the Capitol. We saw cops being beaten, killed. We know that the feces of Trump's supporters, they were spreading it all over the floors and the walls of the Capitol. But we pretend that that was just a nice little tourist visit in a day of love. Our media let these people get away with these claims. Their clergy, just because they don't want to offend their MAGA congregation, they need the numbers, they need the money. Clergy should be up there telling him, you do not misrepresent what we all know to be true. My goodness, people, if anybody had any doubts about how the Holocaust could happen in Germany, we're seeing it right now. Denying what we all see and hear and know about the Nazis that are in this country right now, pretending, oh no, it was just a heart wave. No, it wasn't. And Elon Musk didn't do it because he has autism. Do not blame this on autism. What an insult to people who have autism and their families, who know them and care for them, and know that the autism would not cause them to do the Heil Hitler salute, the Nazi salute. I am so sick of this. And I think when we get sick of it, it makes us just want to shut up about it, and we can't. We can't. We have to at least lay the basic framework for truth so that one day we can fall back on it and know that we spoke up. Maybe we'll be silenced in the short term, but one day there has to be a record of what the truth was. And then the record shows that we were silenced. But we can't just give up, because then there'll be not even crumbs to work with when these Nazis, these fascists, rewrite history. And that is what's happening, rewriting history. So if Sheldon Whitehouse actually thinks that RFK Jr. is qualified to hold the position of Secretary of Health and Human Services, he was a heroin addict. He's anti-vax. He drinks raw milk. He had a brain word, for Christ's sake. Come on, folks. He's not mentally or physically well. He is not qualified. In fact, he's a frightening disaster waiting to happen. And Trump knew this and did it anyway. This is Trump's way of right out of the gate. He learns this from Putin. Right out of the gate, put forth as many cruel, crazy, unbelievable things possible. RFK Jr. falls into that category, and see what people do. See if they really fight me. See if they really want to stop me. Oh, he knows a couple of us will speak up. But ultimately, this is how Trump tests people. And here we have a Democrat. We have Democrats in the Senate helping him. Helping him? Because college friends, roommates? I can't get my head around it. The same with Fetterman, with Pete Hegseth. And the thing is, I think a lot of these Republicans are really, really hoping, if they don't have the courage, that if you have all the Democrats and a few of the Republicans who do have the courage or can afford to do it or don't plan on running for re-election, I think they're all secretly hoping that these nominations will be defeated. They're hoping somebody else will do the work. We've seen this throughout the entire era of Trump. Remember when Nancy Pelosi told us they're not going to impeach Trump over obstruction of justice in the Mueller report? And at that early stage, I do think that the Senate would have voted to convict. Because at that time, and I've said this many times, at that time, we still had a lot of establishment Republicans. They hadn't been papered over little by little each election with MAGA. And I think they would have been relieved to get rid of him. And we saw that after January 6th, when he had already been defeated, and you had Mitch McConnell and everybody else standing up there putting January 6th right at Trump's feet. Some were saying impeach him, get rid of him, put him in prison, shoot the protesters, because they thought he was done. And it never occurred to them that a DOJ would not take care of it. But there we have Merrick Garland. Let him off the hook, which is why we are where we are. We need everyone to do their jobs, and John Fetterman and Whitehouse are not. And even if you're not from their state, perhaps we should all bombard them on social media. Take them on. Do not let them get away with this unscathed. Because this is what Trump is counting on. Pushing the envelope. He's putting it all out there now, this fire hose of chaos and insanity and destruction, to see what we do. And if he can get away with it, then he knows he'll get away with anything and everything. And so far, he's right. So far, he's right. So he wants us poor and hungry and sick. He wants the old and infirmed and vulnerable to die because it's cheaper, just like he did during the pandemic. Just like he did during the pandemic. And he's moving on this extremely egregious list of, I don't even know what to call it, fascism even seems too light of a word. He's doing it so quickly so that we can't get our footing, we can't respond, that we're just sitting here going, oh my God, But when we look up to the Hill, to the Senate, and we see Democratic senators, and I mean hardcore Democrats, doing this, I'm thinking, should we check their bank accounts? Because they don't have any good reasons. He was my college friend is not a good reason. I don't know what Fetterman's reason is. Does he like attention? I mean, I've always been supportive of him, but is this part of the whole attention thing? Like his wardrobe, I can't wear a suit because mentally it just upsets me too much. They make suits his size, by the way. He makes enough money where he can have some suits made if you know, that's what it is. A lot of athletes are his size that somehow manage to put a suit on. So I'm starting to sort of look at some of these things about John Fetterman that before I was tolerant of because I thought, well, maybe there's a good reason. I realized no, it's not. So I'm kind of now leaning towards the stuff he does to stand out is solely to stand out. And supporting Pete Hegseth is part of that. I put that up there with I have to wear a hoodie and shorts on the Senate floor. Sorry, Senator Fetterman, but you've earned this. You've lost me. And Sheldon Whitehouse, wow, that's a shocker. That is a shocker. I mean, my God, even Susan Collins is opposing Pete Hegseth. Probably because she knows that he'll probably make it through anyway, because we've got these Democrats, you know, we've got Fetterman that's going to support him. So, you know, I don't even know what to think. So is MAGA corrupt and dangerous and fascist? Yes, absolutely. Far more than Democrats. But having worked in Washington, you know, as a Republican for so many decades, and now I'm a Democrat. I left the GOP the summer of 2016 when they nominated Trump the day after. But I can tell you unequivocally that, yeah, Washington is a sleazy place. And sometimes it attracts the wrong people. And it doesn't always become apparent right away. But on this one, there is no excuse for Fetterman. There is no excuse for Senator Whitehouse. None. None. And you can say, well, we'll make sure they're primaried. Okay, what do we do until then? Because I don't trust them on anything. This is not a small deal. This is a very, very big deal. People are going to die because of this. Okay? They are going to die. Their votes matter, these two senators. Think of if you have a son or daughter, grandchildren, or maybe it's you in the military, serving under drunk Pete Hegseth, drunk white nationalist, incompetent TV guy, rapist apparently, Pete Hegseth. And you're going to go invade Greenland under his orders. And that's another thing. Trump can only have people in his cabinet that are as sleazy and evil as him. Because an honest man or woman might not take those orders to invade Greenland. They might not do something that is against the Constitution or going against a NATO ally. They may not obey. They might not invade Panama. And a Secretary of Health and Human Services worth their salt is going to fight like hell before they let Trump shut down any more of our information from our health agencies, or might speak out when he pulls us out of the World Health Organization. But Trump needs obedience and fealty to him. And people are going to die as a result. And even if your Senate vote doesn't matter, even if voting against Hegseth, even if Fetterman votes against Hegseth, and it still means he gets in, you still got to do the right thing. I am so sick of Democrats doing this. Well, we're going to lose anyway, so why bother? Nancy Pelosi did that with the Mueller report by not impeaching Trump for 10 counts of obstruction of justice. Do the right thing no matter what. And you know what? Let the Senate, you can't predict what the Senate is going to do. Impeach him in the House, and then maybe leave it up to constituents to pound on the doors, ringing the phones off the hook for the senators, saying, you better vote to convict. Instead, Nancy Pelosi said, we'll let the voters take care of it. Well, we did, but I'm sorry, it was your job. The voters don't have the ability to impeach a corrupt president. And this is where people stopped trusting our elected officials. We are so appalled by Trump. But when you look at the fact that the Democrats wouldn't do the right thing, it doesn't even matter what your reasons were. Same with Merrick Garland. It doesn't matter what your reasons were. The House could vote to impeach. Frankly, it's none of your business what the Senate does. You send it to them and let it be their fight. Let them explain to their constituents their vote for or against. But there is no excuse for it anymore. I am tired. It is, yes, Trump is a monster, but Democrats didn't fight hard enough. Democrats could have pressured media more. Call a Nazi a Nazi. Go on TV, go on your local TV, put out press releases. Elon Musk gave the Nazi salute. This will not be tolerated. He cannot have security clearance. He cannot have a position in the government that's not without confirmation, without an FBI check. And Trump has now gotten rid of those as well. These senators and House members, Democrats, cowering in fear. They don't understand this moment in history. They don't understand this moment in history. And it feels like and sounds like and smells like appeasement, and it stinks. It stinks. So, are we going to take it? I don't know. Do we? Do we take it? I don't want to take it. I'm kind of done. I'm done.